Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is most famous for being the creator of Sherlock Holmes, but what isn't as well known is that he also wrote a lot of historical and ghost stories. In the late 1880s, he found a deep fascination with psychical research. He would conduct his own telepathic experiments, and in 1891 would go on to join the SPR, Society for Psychical Research. Doyle converted to spiritualism and became convinced that there was life after death. Out of all the cases that Doyle took on throughout the years, there was one that always stood out to him. In 1907, Doyle, accompanied by fellow investigators Frank Podmore, a critic of spiritualism, and a Dr. Scott, were sent by the Psychical Society to stay a few nights to investigate a supposedly haunted 17th century house in Charmouth, Dorset. There had been claims of poltergeist activity occurring in the run-down house for years. The current occupants, a mother and her son, although intimidated by the strange goings-on, they were too poor to move out as they had the house on a lease. The mother's married daughter had recently moved back to the property in order to keep her mother company and to give her support in the spooky house. For each night of the investigation, the mother, son, and daughter would then retire to their upstairs rooms for the evening. The group then took precautions against tricks being played, which included tying threads and bells across staircases and passageways. On the first night of the investigation, nothing out of the ordinary occurred. After the uneventful first night, Dr. Scott had to return to London, so the son living in the house took Dr. Scott's place in the investigation. During the second night, things took a turn for the strange. While in the sitting room, the group experienced a lot of unexplained noises. It was as if someone was beating a table with a stick. The sitting room door had been left open, and the noise could be heard coming from down one of the house's passageways. The group went to investigate the sound, which they believed was coming from the kitchen, but the thread across the kitchen door was untouched, and so was the thread across the stairs, proving that the women hadn't come downstairs during the night. After not finding a true source of the noise, the trio went back to the sitting room, where they spent the remainder of the night without anything else occurring. Doyle would go on to state that it was highly unlikely that it would have been someone playing a practical joke on them. The next day, Doyle and Podmore left Charmouth with no clue to the cause of the previous night's events. Doyle was disheartened he couldn't do anything to help the scared lady and her son, but reassured them and wished them luck for the future. Doyle felt no need to write up a report of the incident for the society, as there was nothing new he could bring to the table that hadn't already been reported before. Later, Doyle found that Podmore had submitted his own personal report to the society based on the incident. In this report, he stated that he was suspicious of the son. Doyle felt let down and frustrated by such a report, as the boy had stayed by their side for the entire night, so could not have possibly have made the mysterious noise. And that was it. Not much else was thought about the incident. Over the years, Doyle did keep in regular contact with the family who had lived in the house. The house was eventually burnt to the ground, and a disturbing discovery was made. Buried in the garden of the house was the skeletal remains of a 10-year-old boy. The body had been there for many years or even decades, so it was almost certain that the remains would have been present on the property at the time of Doyle's investigation. As for the body of the child buried in the garden, not much information can be found on it. It's most likely we will never know who the boy was, how he died, and why he was buried in the garden in the first place, as the answers to most of these questions have probably been eroded away by time. When writing his account on this experience in 1916, Doyle stated, "Haunted houses are rare. and houses with buried human beings in their gardens are also, we will hope, rare. That they should have both united in one house is surely some argument for the truth of the phenomena.